to Esoterica and Nonsense, a podcast where we discuss myths, legends, folktales, fairy tales, supernatural phenomenon, and religions from around the world. I am your host, Annabelle. And today, I'm going to read us a few stories from China. Yeah, it's Sagittarius season. Humanity is busy. I guess I should say parts of humanity are busy murdering innocent people. Parts of humanity are making art. Parts of humanity are just trying to get by. I think this might just be another classic era in humanity where everyone's just kind of doing their own thing. I don't know. I've been thinking philosophically a lot, because I think when I think about war / genocide and colonization and human exploitation, and I start getting really philosophical, because the question that comes to my mind is, how can this stop? How does one stop a downward spiral like this? Because of course we're traumatizing each other, and then we keep recreating the trauma, And honestly, I'm just philosophizing here, but I feel like it's art. I feel like everyone needs to take art seriously. I think if everyone started making art as a way to process their trauma truly, I really think that we could change the course of the human experience. Because human beings are so creative, and if they want to be, they can use their creativity to live a life that's easier, because really all you have to do is take care of the earth, and then the earth feeds you and waters you and gives you everything you need. But I feel like we just don't have healthy ways to process our pain. And it is incredibly painful to be a human being, because we're watching each other murder each other, and it's horrifying. So, if you've been looking for a sign to start making art, even if it's just for fun, like it doesn't need to be professionally, you don't need to sell your art, but if you've been wanting to make music or paint or draw, like, this is your sign. Fucking do it. Because what if today every single human on earth decided to start making art to process their pain? And then we could start making art to make things beautiful, or to make things more harmonious. And like, what if everyone did that? Even the people who right now are like calling the shots and pressing the buttons that are detonating bombs or whatever. Anyway, that's what's just on my mind. But I have a feeling that if you're listening to this, you already are someone who's interested in creativity. Do you hear the wind outside? It's really windy today. It's really beautiful. Super, super beautiful. Anyway, it's about to be holiday season. I don't personally celebrate holiday season, but I know that some of you do. If you're a fan of the podcast, get yourself some podcast merch, or get yourself some really cool sweatshirts or blankets or t-shirts that I have on my shop. There's a link in the episode details of this episode, and in fact, every episode in the details, in the show notes, I should say, there's a link to my online store. I just dropped my Palo Santo. One second. I got it. Also, if you like the podcast, please consider subscribing to my Patreon. It is very helpful. And I appreciate all donations. It helps me make more episodes. But enough business, darling. Let's get to the meat. I have hand selected a few cute stories. I'm drinking some chai. I'm burning a little bit of sage and some Palo Santo right now because I'm just saying a prayer for all the sweet angels on earth right now who are not safe and who have their livelihood in danger and are watching horrific things unfold around them. I'm saying a prayer for these people. And I'm saying a prayer for the people who are perpetrating violence, because obviously they are incredibly hurt individuals. And I really pray for all human beings. I really do, because I really think humans can be really cool. I think the potential of humans is fucking cool. And I would really love to see that. I'd really love to see humans step into their coolness, to their creativity, to their kindness, to their beauty. So I'm just burning the fuck out of these magical items that I have. And I'm drinking some delicious chai. So anyway, let's fucking do it, guys. First, we are going to hear the story of the girl with the horse's head, aka the Silkworm goddess. Yeah, you're welcome. We're gonna learn about the Silkworm goddess. Fuck yeah. In the dim ages of the past, there once was an old man who went on a journey. No one remained at home save his only daughter and a white stallion. The daughter fed the horse day by day, but she was lonely and she yearned for her father. So it happened that one day she said in jest to the horse, "If you will bring back my father to me, then I will marry you." No sooner had the horse heard her say this than he broke loose and ran away. He ran until he came to the place where her father was. When her father saw the horse, he was pleasantly surprised, caught him, and seated himself on his back. And the horse turned back the way he had come, neighing without a pause. "What can be the matter with the horse?" thought the father. "Something must have surely gone wrong at home." So he dropped the reins and rode back, and he fed the horse liberally because he had been so intelligent. But the horse ate nothing, and when he saw the girl, he struck out at her with his hooves and tried to bite her. This surprised the father. He questioned his daughter, and she told him the truth, just as it had occurred. "You must not say a word about it to anyone," spoke her father, "or else people will talk about us." And he took down his crossbow, shot the horse, and hung up his skin in the yard to dry. Then he went on his travels again. What? Oh my God. Okay, pause. This is like this is the most toxic portrayal of right, literally in his words, quote, "You must not say a word about it to anyone or else people will talk about us. So let's kill the white stallion?" Like, what? I'm sorry, humans. You made a deal that you would marry this horse. You told the horse that. The horse got your father home. And now you're embarrassed what people will say, so you're going to murder the horse. This is so unacceptable. This is so unacceptable. Okay, well, let's see where this goes. I couldn't even guess where this is gonna go. Okay, one day, his daughter went out walking with the daughter of a neighbor. When they entered the yard, she pushed the horsehide with her foot and said, "What an unreasonable animal you were, wanting to marry a human being. What happened to you served you right." What? Dude, this girl and her dad, they're sick in the head. That is so rude. Like, okay, whatever. But before she had finished her speech, the horsehide moved, rose up, wrapped itself about the girl, and ran off. Okay, you know what? Justice. Justice for the white stallion. Horrified, her companion ran home to her father and told him what had happened. The neighbors looked for the girl everywhere, but she could not be found. That's actually pretty traumatizing. Imagine like walking with one of your homegirls and then a horsehide wraps itself around her and runs away. That's horrifying. At last, some days afterwards, they saw the girl hanging from the branches of a tree, still wrapped in the horsehide, and gradually she turned into a silkworm and wove a cocoon. And the threads which she spun were strong and thick. Her girlfriend then took down the cocoon and let her slip out of it. And then she spun the silk and sold it at a large profit. Okay. This is wild. Okay. But the girl's relatives longed for her greatly. So one day the girl appeared riding in the clouds on her horse. Is this in her silkworm form, I'm assuming? So the girl is now in a silkworm form, and now she's riding in the clouds on her white stallion. And she was followed by a great company. And she said, "In heaven I have been assigned to the task of watching over the growing of silkworms. You must yearn for me no longer." And thereupon they built temples to her in her native land, and every year at the silkworm season, sacrifices are offered to her and her protection is implored. And the silkworm goddess is also known as the girl with the horse's head. Note, this tale is placed in the times of the Emperor Hao, and the legend seems to have originated in Sichuan. The stallion is the sign of the zodiac which rules the springtime, the season when the silkworms are cultivated. Hence, she is called the goddess with the horse's head. The legend itself tells a different tale. In addition to this goddess, the spouse of Shenong, the divine husbandman, is also worshipped as the goddess of the silkworm culture. The goddess with the horse's head is more of a totemic representation of the silkworm as such, while the wife of Shenong is regarded as the protecting goddess of silk culture and is supposed to have been the first to teach women its details. The spouse of the Yellow Lord is mentioned in the same connection. The popular belief distinguishes three goddesses who protect the silkworm culture in turn. The second is the best of the three, and when it is her year, the silk turns out well. That is fascinating. Interesting. Okay, so I'm just like pontificating here. That little note at the end of this story was helpful, but the horse is the symbol of the springtime. She promises to marry the horse, but she and her dad are too embarrassed, so they kill the horse, which is the symbol of the springtime. But then, because she had promised the horse, she still marries the horse in a sense, and they're like bound together as spring deities, I guess, right? And so then now she's like a silkworm goddess and is like the protector of silkworm goddesses. My brain is like I'm trying to wrap my brain around this symbolically. This is why, PSA, this is why it is so important to keep oral traditions alive, because when we lose oral traditions, it is possible, obviously there are written accounts, but without the cultural context, without the details about what a lot of these symbols mean to the people who are telling these stories, we lose out on what these stories are really about, And I'm just a simple, dim-witted American. So I'm not qualified to interpret this story allegorically and to like get into the meat of it. But I think that this is, I don't know, from my perspective, this man's daughter was a little bit of an asshole for like kind of like being so rude to this white stallion, right? So I don't think it's a terrible punishment. She still gets to be a silkworm goddess. That's kind of beautiful. I would be down to be a silkworm goddess and to protect the silkworms during springtime. That was oddly beautiful, but also dark. All right, well, that was the story of the girl with the horse's head, aka the silkworm goddess. I wish you could smell this sage right now. I can't stop burning it. It smells so good. It smells incredible. This would be a perfect time to light an incense. I don't know what you're doing, but I think it's time to light an incense, if you know what I mean. Okay, next up, we have the story of the Flower Elves. Once upon a time, there was a scholar who lived retired from the world in order to gain hidden wisdom. Oh yeah, sign me up. He lived alone in a secret place. And all about the little house in which he dwelt, he had planted every kind of flower and bamboos and other trees. Oh my God, we love this guy. There it lay, quite concealed in its thick grove of flowers. With him he had only a boy servant who dwelt in a separate hut and who carried out his orders. He was not allowed to appear before his master unless summoned. The scholar loved his flowers as he did himself. Never did he set foot beyond the boundaries of his garden. I'm loving this guy. It chanced that once there came a lovely spring evening. Flowers and trees stood in full bloom. A fresh breeze was blowing. The moon shone clearly, and the scholar sat over his goblet and was grateful for the great gift of life. What? Literally, this is my dream life. Flowers, trees in full bloom, spring evening, a breeze blowing, the moon's out, and you're just looking over your goblet, being grateful to be alive. This sounds like the story of my life. Suddenly, he saw a maiden in dark garments come tripping up in the moonlight. Oh my God, yes. She made a deep curtsy, greeted him, and said, "I am your neighbor. We are a company of young maids who are on our way to visit the 18 aunts. We should like to rest in this court for a while, and therefore ask your permission to do so." The scholar saw that this was something quite out of the common, and gladly gave his consent. The maiden thanked him and went away. In a short time, she brought back a whole crowd of maids, carrying flowers and willow branches. They all greeted the scholar. They were charming with delicate features and slender, graceful figures. When they moved their sleeves, a delightful fragrance was exhaled. There are the peppers. There is no fragrance known to the human world which could be compared to it. Yeah, these girls are definitely the fairies. You know what I'm saying? Or the elves. Sorry, the flower elves. They have to be the flower elves. I can sense it in my bones. The peppers. I just don't want to close my window because it's so nice. The breeze is so nice. Come on, guys. Okay, good enough. Okay, the scholar invited them to sit down for a time in his room. Then he asked them, "Whom have I really the honor of entertaining? Have you come from the castle of the Lady in the Moon, or the jade spring of the Queen Mother of the West?" Oh my God. Take me there. Take me to the castle of the Lady in the Moon and to the jade spring of the Queen Mother of the West. Oh my God. "How could we claim such high descent?" said the maiden in a green gown with a smile. "My name is Salix." Then she presented another clad in white and said, "This is Mistress Prunafora." Then one in a rose dress said, "And this is Persica." And finally one in a dark red gown, "And this is Punica. We are all sisters and we want to visit the 18 Zephyr aunts today. The moon shines so beautifully this evening and it is so charming here in the garden. We are most grateful to you for taking pity on us." Okay, wait, pause. Zephyr. I need to look up Zephyr because every time I think of Zephyr, I think of Lords of Dogtown. And I always forget what it means. Okay, so a zephyr has multiple meanings, including one, a gentle breeze, a light wind or a west wind. It could mean a lightweight fabric. It could mean a peach blossom. It could also mean a kitchen range hood and wine cooler. What? Oh my God. Okay, it seems that usually it refers to the wind because Zephyrus was the Greek god of the west wind and associated with springtimes, flowers, and procreation. Okay, got it. So most likely these women are talking about the west wind aunts. Okay, and they say, "The moon shines so beautifully this evening, and it is so charming here in the garden. We are most grateful to you for taking pity on us." "Yes, yes," said the scholar. Then the sober-clad servant suddenly announced, "The Zephyr aunts have already arrived." At once the girls rose and went to the door to meet them. "We were just about to visit you, aunts," they said, smiling. "This gentleman here had just invited us to sit for a moment. What a pleasant coincidence that you aunts have come here too. This is such a lovely night that we must drink a goblet of nectar in honor of you, aunts." Oh my God, a goblet of nectar. I'm hooked. Thereon, they ordered the servant to bring what was needed. "May one sit down here?" asked the aunts. "The master of the house is most kind," replied the maids, "and the spot is quiet and hidden." And then they presented the aunts to the scholar. He spoke a few kindly words to the 18 aunts. They had a somewhat irresponsible and airy manner. Me. Their words fairly gushed out, and in their neighborhood, one felt a frosty chill. Meanwhile, the servant had already brought in a table and chairs. The 18 aunts sat at the upper end of the board. The maids followed, and the scholar sat down with them at the lowest place. Soon the entire table was covered with the most delicious foods and the most magnificent fruits, and the goblets were filled with a fragrant nectar. There were delights such as the world of men does not know. The moon shone brightly, and the flowers exhaled intoxicating odors. After they had partaken of food and drink, the maids rose, danced, and sung. Fuck yeah. Sweetly the sound of their singing echoed through the falling gloam, and their dance was like that of butterflies fluttering about the flowers. The scholar was so overpowered with delight that he no longer knew whether he were in heaven or on earth. Oh, this is so cute. When the dance had ended, the girls sat down again at the table and drank the health of the aunts in flowing nectar. The scholar, too, was remembered with a toast, to which he replied with well-turned phrases. But the 18 aunts were somewhat irresponsible in their ways. One of them, raising her goblet, by accident poured some nectar on Punika's dress. Punika, who was young and fiery and very neat, stood up angrily when she saw the spot on her red dress. "You are really very careless," she said in her anger. "My other sisters may be afraid of you, but I am not." Then the aunts grew angry as well and said, "How dare this young chit insult us in such a manner?" Chit? What do you mean by chit? Is that a word that people use? Usually a chit means a short official note, a memorandum, a voucher, usually a record of a sum that's owed. Oh, a child. Got it. Okay, so she called her a child. That's what a chit is. Does everyone know these words, and am I just tripping? Or I don't know. Who knows? Okay, so the aunt calls her a chit. And with that, they gathered up their garments and they rose. All the maids crowded around them and said, "Punika is so young and inexperienced. You must not bear her any ill will. Tomorrow she shall go to you, switch in hand, and receive her punishment." Okay, whatever. I'm kind of on Punika's side though. You spilled your drink on me. I mean, it's not a big deal, but come on. But the 18 aunts would not listen to them, and they went off. Thereupon the maids also said farewell, scattering among the flower beds, and disappeared. The scholar sat for a long time, lost in dreamy yearning. On the following evening, all the maids came back again. "We all live in your garden," they told him. "Every year we are tormented by naughty winds, and therefore we have always asked the 18 aunts to protect us. But yesterday Punika insulted them, and now we fear that they will help us no more. But we know that you have always been well disposed towards us, for which we are heartily grateful. And now we have a great favor to ask of you, that every New Year's Day you must make a small scarlet flag, paint the sun, moon, and 5 planets on it, and set it up in the eastern part of the garden. Then we sisters will be left in peace and will be protected from all evil. But since New Year's Day has passed for this year, we beg that you will set up the flag on the 21st of this month, for the east wind is coming and the flag will protect us against him." The scholar readily promised to do as they wished, and the maids all said with a single voice, "We thank you for your great kindness and will repay it." Then they departed, and a sweet fragrance filled the entire garden. The scholar, however, made a red flag as described, and when early in the morning of the day in question, the east wind really did begin to blow, he quickly set it up in the garden. Suddenly, a wild storm broke out, one that caused the forests to bend and broke the trees. The flowers in the garden alone did not move. Then the scholar noticed that Salix was the willow, Prunafora the plum, Persica the peach, and the saucy Punica the pomegranate, whose powerful blossoms the wind cannot tear. The 18 zephyr-aunts, however, were the spirits of the winds. In the evening, the Flower Elves all came and brought the scholar radiant flowers as a gift of thanks. "You have saved us," they said, "and we have nothing else we can give you. If you eat these flowers, you will live long and avoid old age. And if you, in turn, will protect us every year, then we sisters too will live long." The scholar did as they told him and ate the flowers, and his figure changed and he grew young again like a youth of 20. And in the course of time he attained the hidden wisdom and was placed amongst the immortals. Wow, that was such a cute story. Okay, there's a little footnote. Note: Salix, the name of the Flower Elves, are given in the Chinese as family names whose sound suggests the flower names without exactly using them. In the translation, the play on words is indicated by the Latin names, zephyr-aunts. In Chinese, the name given the aunt is feng, which is another stylization meaning wind. Oh, interesting. Wow, that's really helpful context. This is very interesting. And this is kind of an example of what I mean, of like how much we miss when things are translated and translated without cultural context. But that was a super cute story. I want to be a flower elf. It's so beautiful. It reminds me of this book I had as a kid. I don't remember the name, but it was about a little girl who fell asleep in the meadow. And when she wakes up, she like witnesses like a ball, like all the flowers are attending a ball. And so like the rose is the queen, and she has this incredible ball gown, like made of rose petals. And there's like a rose petal collar around her face. And then let's see, there's like a buttercup family. So there's like a plump blonde mother in like a dirndl, and she wears like a buttercup hat, and she has all these like young little kids with rosy cheeks who are wearing buttercup hats. And then there's like a water lily goddess, and she doesn't leave the water, but she has like a water lily on her head. And then like all the weeds are like troll people. And then like there's like these acorn boys. They look like the Lost Boys from Peter Pan. They all like live in the trees with pulleys, and they have tree houses. And they're anyway, it just reminded me of these flower elves. Very, very cute. Oh, that was so cute. Okay, and then we have one more story. This is going to be a good one. This is a little bit of a long one. And this one is called The Dragon Princess. I'm very excited. All right, are you ready? I'm ready. In the Sea of Dongting, there is a hill. And in that hill, there is a hole. And this hole is so deep that it has no bottom. Once, a fisherman was passing. A fisherman was passing there, and he slipped and fell into the hole. He came to a country full of winding ways, which led over a hill and a dale for several miles. Whoa, this is crazy. So literally, second sentence of this story, he's in an underground country. This is so interesting. So he's fallen into this hole, and now he's underground, going over hill and dale for several miles. Finally, he reached a dragon castle lying in a great plain. There grew a green slime which reached to his knees. He went to the gate of the castle. It was guarded by a dragon who spouted water, which dispersed in a fine mist. Within the gate lay a small hornless dragon who raised his head, showed his claws, and would not let him in. The fisherman spent several days in the cave, satisfying his hunger with the green slime, which he found edible and which tasted like rice mush. Okay. At last he found a way out again. He told the district mandarin what had happened to him, and the latter reported the matter to the emperor. The emperor sent for a wise man and questioned him concerning it. The wise man said, "There are 4 paths to this cave. One path leads to the southwest shore of the Sea of Dongting. The second path leads to a valley in the land of the 4 rivers. The third path ends in a cave on the mountain of Lo Fu, and the fourth in an island of the eastern sea. In this cave dwells the 7th daughter of the Dragon King of the eastern sea, who guards his pearls and his treasure. It happened once in the ancient days that a fisher boy dived into the water and brought up a pearl from beneath the chin of a black dragon." Oh my god, this is so good. Oh my god, I can't wait to meet the dragon princess who guards the pearls and the treasure. Yeah. The story goes that the dragon was asleep, which was the reason the fisher boy brought the pearl to the surface without being harmed. The treasure which the daughter of the Dragon King has in charge is made up of thousands and millions of such jewels. Several thousands of small dragons watch over them in her service. Dragons have the peculiarity of fighting shy of wax. Interesting. But they are fond of beautiful jade stones and of kongsing, the hollow green wood, and they like to eat swallows. Interesting. Let's do some quick research on the hollow green wood. The hollow green wood. Oh my gosh, I'm getting full on deja vu right now. This is so wild. Interesting. Okay, let's look up kongsing. The hollow green wood. I've never heard of this. Have you heard of this? This is fascinating. Oh my god, Google. Google sucks sometimes, you know what I mean? Okay, well, all of these references I've looked into have no idea what I'm talking about. So if you know what hollow green wood is /kungsing, please write us an email at esotericaandnonsense@gmail.com. That would be so appreciated. But the story must go on. So, if one were to send a messenger with a letter, it would be possible to obtain precious pearls. Okay, so obviously now the king is interested in procuring treasures from the Dragon Kingdom. The emperor was greatly pleased and announced a large reward for the man who was competent to go to the dragon castle as his messenger. The first man who came forward was named So-Pi-Lo, but the wise men said, "A great-great-great-great-grandfather of yours once slew more than 100 of the dragons of the Eastern Sea, and was finally himself slain by the dragons." Do you hear the wind? That's so good. Hold on. I'm going to move my table closer to me. Boom. Okay. Oh, this is crazy. So the wise man is saying to So-Pi-Lo that one of his great-great-great-great-grandfathers slayed more than 100 dragons. And then he himself was finally slain by the dragons. The dragons are the enemies of your family, and you cannot go. Then came a man from Canton, Lo Tzi-Shun. Damn, I wish I could speak every language. Okay, so this man is named Lo Tzi-Shun. And he came with his 2 brothers, who said that his ancestors had been related to the Dragon King. Hence, they were well liked by dragons and well known to them. They begged to be entrusted with the message. The wise man asked, "And have you still in your possession the stone which compels the dragons to do your will?" "Yes," said they, "we have brought it along with us." The wise man had them show him the stone. Then he spoke. "The stone is only obeyed by the dragons who make clouds and send down the rain. It will not do for the dragons who guard the pearls of the Sea King." Then he questioned them further. "Have you the dragon brain vapor?" "What? Dragon brain vapor? Oh my God, I need to know more." When they admitted that they had not, the wise man said, "How then will you compel the dragons to yield their treasure?" And the emperor said, "What shall we do?" The wise man replied, "On the Western Ocean sail foreign merchants who deal in dragon brain vapor." What an industry to be in. "Someone must go to them and seek it from them. I also know a holy man who is an adept in the art of taming dragons and who has prepared 10 pounds of the dragon stone. Someone should be sent for that as well." Whoa, okay. First of all, I would love to hear the life story of the dragon tamer. Also, do you know what this reminds me of? There's this thing called like glowing jade, I think, right? I don't know what it was referred to in Chinese culture, but there's this really rare stone known as glowing jade in English, and it's basically jade, but it glows in the dark. So if it absorbs enough like sunlight, it can glow in the dark. And I found out about this from this like dude I met once. I was in high school and it was so trippy. Maybe I already told the story on the aliens episode, but when I was in high school, I started researching aliens, and like I think one of the first nights that I went on this deep dive and like discovered the Anunnaki and the Pleiadians and like all this stuff. Literally the next day I was walking down the street and this dude who was middle-aged was like, "Oh, I know you. I met you at like some convention or whatever last week. And I was like, no, dude, you don't know me. What? And like he walked with me to my bus stop, which he was like, this is also my bus stop. And he was like telling me that he was born in the year of the dragon, in the month of the dragon, in the week of the dragon. And when he was in his 40s, he went to the dragon province in China, to the temple of the dragon. And outside, he found this spherical stone of glowing jade. And he just picked it up. It was like on the ground. And so he didn't think anything of it. He just thought it was like some special rock. It turns out the piece that he picked up was worth millions of dollars. And he was in a fairly touristy area. And like it was a perfectly round sphere. And so he asked everyone in the temple, like, was this stolen from the temple or was it misplaced? No one had seen this stone before, and he had literally just picked it up on the ground. And so he obviously was convinced that this was like divine fate, which I can't even argue with him. This is like a wild story. And he was like, you don't believe me, do you? And I was like, I don't know. I do believe you. How can you like make this shit up? So then he was telling me that like now his job was that he was like a glowing jade dealer, and he was wearing a piece around his neck, and he gave me his business card, and it was a photograph of this giant orb of glowing jade he brought. And he was talking about like since he found the glowing jade, like his whole, I don't know, all these like weird psychic things started happening to him. And I met him in 2011. So he was telling me that on like December 21st, 2012, he was going to bring his glowing jade to Machu Picchu and ask the aliens to pick him up. That's what he told me. But I wonder, anyway, I'm telling you this story because I'm wondering if that's what Dragonstone is, because they did mention that the dragons love jade, and this is glowing jade, which is extra magical. And you know, that dude who was born allegedly in the year of the dragon, on the month of the dragon, on the day of, I don't even know if that's like a real thing, but that's what this random dude I met once told me. It was actually also really crazy because he told me that after he found the glowing jade, that he started like aging backwards, and that he like looked younger than he did when he first picked it up. And he told me he was 70, which is crazy because he looked like he was like 40, like a really healthy 40. But this guy also could have been a nut, you know what I mean? Like, this was in Berkeley, California. So this guy, you know, I'm just saying, take it with a grain of salt. Okay. So, the wise man is saying that we need a dragonstone stat and we need some dragon brain vapor. And that we're going to go talk to the dragon tamer, who is my idol. So, the emperor sent out his messengers. They met one of the holy man's disciples and obtained 2 fragments of dragonstone from him. Said the wise man, "This is what we want." Several more months went by, and at last a pill of dragon brain vapor had also been secured. This is so wild. A pill? I wasn't expecting the dragon brain vapor to come in a pill. Whatever. The emperor felt much pleased and had his jewelers carve 2 little boxes of the finest jade. These were polished with the ashes of the Wu-Tang tree. Ugh, what if it was Wu-Tang tree? Could you imagine? And he had an essence prepared of the very best hollow green wood, pasted with sea fish lime, and hardened with fire. Interesting. Of this 2 vases were made, and then the bodies and the clothing of the messengers were rubbed with tree wax, and they were given 500 roasted swallows to take with them. This is a wild mission. Could you imagine being one of the messengers of the king, and you're going to be rubbed with tree wax? You're going to be given a vase made out of hollow green wood and sealed with sea fish lime and hardened with fire. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then you're going to be given 500 roasted swallows. This is a wild mission, dude. This is the kind of Mission Impossible I want to see. You know what I mean? Mission Impossible dragon's lair. Like this is the movie I want to see. Okay, so the messengers went into the cave, and when they reached the dragon castle, the little dragon who guarded the gate smelled the tree wax, so he crouched down and did them no harm. They gave him 100 roasted swallows as a bribe to announce them to the daughter of the Dragon King. They were admitted to her presence and offered her the jade caskets, the vases, and the 400 roasted swallows as gifts. The dragon's daughter received them graciously, and they unfolded the emperor's letter. In the castle, there was a dragon who was over 1,000 years old. He could turn himself into a human being and could interpret the language of human beings. Oh my God, that's so cool. Let's write a story about his life. Hello? Through him, the dragon's daughter learned that the emperor was sending her the gifts, and she returned them with the gift of 3 great pearls, 7 smaller pearls, and a whole bushel of ordinary pearls. The messengers took leave, rode off with their pearls on a dragon's back, and in a moment they had reached the banks of the Yangtze Kiang. They made their way to Nanking, the imperial capital, and there they handed over their treasure of gems. The emperor was much pleased and showed them to the wise man. He said, "Of the 3 great pearls, one is a divine wishing pearl of the 3rd class, and 2 are black dragon pearls of medium quality. Of the 7 smaller pearls, 2 are serpent pearls, and 5 are mussel pearls. The remaining pearls are in part sea crane pearls, in part snail and oyster pearls. They do not approach the great pearls in value, and yet few will be found to equal them on earth." The emperor also showed them to all of his servants. They, however, thought this wise man's words were all talk and did not believe what he said. The wise man said, "The radiance of wishing pearls of the 1st class is visible for 40 miles. That of the 2nd class for 20 miles, and that of the 3rd class for 10 miles. As far as their radiance carries, neither wind nor rain, thunder nor lightning, water, fire, nor weapons may reach. The pearls of the black dragon are 9-colored and glow by night. Within the circle of their light, the poison of serpents and worms is powerless. The serpent pearls are 7-colored, the mussel pearls 5-colored. Both shine by night. Those most free from spots are best. They grow within the mussel and increase and decrease in size as the moon waxes and wanes." Someone asked how the serpent and the sea crane pearls could be told apart. And the wise man answered, "The animals themselves recognize them." Then the emperor selected a serpent pearl and a sea crane pearl and put them together with a whole bushel of ordinary pearls and poured the lot out into the courtyard. Then a large yellow serpent and a black crane were fetched and placed among the pearls. At once the crane took up a sea crane pearl in his bill and began to dance and sing and flutter around. But the serpent snatched at the serpent pearl and wound himself about it in many coils. And when the people saw this, they acknowledged the truth of the wise man's words. As regards to the radiance of the larger and smaller pearls, it turned out too, just as the wise man had said. In the dragon castle, the messengers had enjoyed dainty fare, which tasted like flowers, herbs, ointments, and sugars. They had brought a remnant of it with them to the capital, yet exposed to the air it had become hard as stone. The emperor commanded that these fragments must be preserved in the treasury. Then he bestowed high rank and titles on the 3 brothers and made each one of them present Oh, and made each one of them a present of 1,000 rolls of fine silk. He also had investigated why it was that the fisherman, when he had chanced upon the cave, had not been destroyed by the dragons. And it turned out that his fishing clothes had been soaked in oil tree wax, and the dragons had dreaded the odor. Some 20 miles east of Gingshao lies this Lake of the Maidens. It is several miles square and surrounded on all sides by thick green thickets and tall forests. Its waters are clear and dark blue. Often all kinds of wondrous creatures show themselves in the lake. The people of the vicinity have erected a temple there for the dragon goddess, and in times of drought, all make pilgrimage there to offer up prayers. West of Gingshao, 200 miles away, is another lake whose god is named Shuana and who performs many miracles. During the time of the Tang Dynasty, there lived in Gingshao a mandarin by name of Xiaobao. I promise you I'm not pronouncing this correctly, so I just needed to say that because there are so many names here that I dearly wish I was pronouncing perfectly. Okay, so while Xiaobao was in office, it chanced that in the 5th month, clouds suddenly arose in the sky, piling themselves up like mountains, among which wriggled dragons and serpents. They rolled up and down between two seas. Tempest and rain, thunder and lightning arose so that the houses fell to pieces. Trees were torn up by the roots, and much damage was done to the crops. Zhao Bao took the blame upon himself and prayed to the heavens that his people might be pardoned. On the 5th day of the 6th month, he sat in his hall of audience and gave judgment. And suddenly he felt quite weary and sleepy. He took off his hat and laid down on the cushions. No sooner had he closed his eyes than he saw a warrior in a helmet and armor, with a halberd in his hand, standing on the steps leading to the hall, who announced, "A lady is waiting outside who wishes to enter." Zhao Bao asked him, "Who are you?" The answer was, "I am your doorkeeper. In the invisible world, I already have been performing this duty for many years." Meanwhile, 2 figures clad in green came up the steps, knelt before him, and said, "Our mistress has come to visit you." Zhao Bao rose. He beheld lovely clouds, from which fell a fine rain, and strange fragrances enchanted him. Suddenly he saw a lady clad in a simple gown, but of surpassing beauty, float down from on high, with a retinue of many male servants. Oh, love her, she sounds hot. These were all neat and clean in appearance, and waited upon the lady as though she were a princess. When the latter entered the hall, she raised her arms in greeting. Zhao Bao came forward to meet her and invited her to be seated. From all sides, bright-colored clouds came floating in, and the courtyard was filled with a purple ether. Zhao Bao had wine and food brought and entertained them all in the most splendid way. But the goddess sat staring straight before her with wrinkled brows and seemed to feel very sad. Then she rose and said with a blush, "I have been living in this neighborhood for many years. A wrong which has been done to me permits me to pass the bounds of what is fitting and encourages me to ask a favor of you. Yet I do not know whether you wish to save me." "May I hear what it is all about?" answered Xiao Bao. If I could help you, I will be glad to place myself at your disposal." The goddess said, "For hundreds of years, my family has been living in the depths of the Eastern Sea. But we were unfortunate in that our treasures excited the jealousy of men. The ancestor of Pilo, The ancestor of Pilo nearly destroyed our entire clan by fire. My ancestors had to fly and hide themselves. And not long ago, our enemy Pilo himself wanted to deliver an imperial letter in the cave of the Sea of Dongting. Under the pretext of begging for pearls and treasures, he wished to enter the dragon castle to destroy our family. Fortunately, a wise man saw through his treacherous purpose, and Lo Tsi-shun and his brothers were sent in his stead. Yet my people did not feel safe from future attacks. For this reason, they withdrew to the distant west. My father has done much good to mankind, and hence is highly honored there. I am his 9th daughter. When I was 16, I was wedded to the youngest son of the rock dragon. But my good husband had a fiery temper, which often caused him to offend against the laws of courtesy, and in less than a year's time, the punishment of heaven was his portion. I was left alone and returned to the home of my parents. My father wished me to marry again, but I had promised to remain true to the memory of my husband and made a vow not to comply with my father's wish. My parents grew angry, and I was obliged to retire to this place in view of their anger. That was 3 years ago. Who could imagine that the contemptible dragon, Shuana, who was seeking a wife for his younger brother, would try to force the wedding gift upon me? I refused to accept it, but Shuana knew how to gain his point with my father and was determined to carry out his intention. My father, regardless of my wishes, promised me to him, and then the dragon Shuana appeared with his youngest brother and wanted to carry me off by sheer force of arms. I encountered him with 50 faithful followers, and we fought on the meadow before the city. We were defeated, and I am more than ever afraid that Shuana will attempt to drag me off. So I have plucked up courage to beg you to lend me your mercenaries so that I may beat off my foes and remain as I am. If you will help me, I will be grateful to you till the end of my days." Xiao Bao answered, "You come from a noble family. Have you no kinsfolk who will hasten to help you in your need, that you are compelled to turn to a mortal man?" "It is true that my kinsfolk are far famed and numerous. If I were to send out letters and they came to my aid, they would rub out that scaly scoundrel Shwana as one might rub garlic." I love that phrase. "But my deceased husband offended the high heavens, and he has not been pardoned. And my parents' will, too, is opposed to mine, so that I dare not call upon my kinsfolk for help. You will understand my need." Then Xiao Bao promised to help her, and the princess thanked him and departed. When he awoke, he sighed long, thinking over his strange experience. And the following day, he sent off 1,500 soldiers to stand guard by the Lake of the Maidens. On the 7th day of the 6th month, Xiao Bao rose early. Darkness still lay before the windows, yet it seemed to him as though he could glimpse a man before the curtain. He asked who it might be. The man said, "I am the princess's advisor. Yesterday you were kind enough to send soldiers to aid us in our distress. But they were all living men, and such cannot fight against invisible spirits. You will have to send us soldiers of yours who have died if you wish to aid us." Ooh, this is spooky. This is cool. Zhao Bao reflected for a time, and then it occurred to him that, of course, such must be the case. So he had his field secretary examine the roster to see how many of his soldiers had fallen in battle, and the latter counted up to some 2,000 foot soldiers and 500 horsemen. Zhao Bao appointed his deceased officer Meng Wan as their leader and wrote his commands on a paper which he burned, in order thus to place them at the princess's disposal. This is fucking amazing, dude. He's talking to ghosts to help the Princess of Dragons. Like, this is sick as fuck. Let's make this a movie. This is so cool. I love this. A ghost army. The living soldiers were recalled. They were being reviewed in the courtyard after their return. A soldier suddenly fell unconscious. It was not until early the following morning that he came to his senses again. He was questioned and replied, "I saw a man clad in red who approached me and said, 'Our princess is grateful for the aid your master has so kindly given her. Yet she still has a request to make and has asked me to call you.' I followed him to the temple. The princess bade me come forward and said to me, 'I thank your master from my heart for sending me the ghost soldiers, but Meng Wan, their leader, is incapable. Yesterday the robbers came with 3,000 men, and Meng Wan was beaten by them. When you return and again see your master, say that I earnestly beg him to send me a good general. Perhaps that will save me in my need.' Then she had me led back again, and I regained consciousness." This is so fucking cool. She's like, yeah, thanks, but like maybe a better general. Could you imagine being a soldier for a king and then dying and then you being summoned in ghost form? Like, I don't think I would ever want to be a soldier, but this would be like one thing that would be cool, to be a ghost soldier for the Princess of Dragons. This is so sick. So when Zhao Bao had heard these words, which seemed to fit strangely well with what he had dreamed, he thought he would try to see if this was really the case. Therefore, he chose his victorious general, Zhang Xiangfu, to take the place of Meng Wan. That evening, he buried incense, offered wine, and handed over to the princess his captain's soul. On the 26th of the month, news came from the general's camp that he had suddenly died at midnight on the 13th. Zhao Bao was frightened and sent a man to bring him a report. The latter informed him that the general's heart had hardly ceased to beat, and that in spite of the hot summer weather, his body was free from any trace of decay, so the order was given not to bury him. Then, one night, an icy spectral wind arose, which whirled up sand and stones, broke trees, and tore down houses. The standing corn in the fields was blown down. The storm lasted all day. Finally, the crash of a terrific thunderbolt was heard, and then the skies cleared and the clouds scattered. That very hour, the dead general began to breathe painfully on his couch, and when his attendants came to him, he had returned to life again. They questioned him, and he told them, "First, I saw a man in a purple gown riding a black horse, who came up with a great retinue. He dismounted before the door. In his hand he held a decree of appointment, which he gave me, saying, "Our princess begs you most respectfully to become her general. I hope that you will not refuse." Then he brought forth gifts and heaped them before the steps: jade stones, brocades, and silken garments, saddles, horses, helmets, and suits of mail. He heaped them all up in the courtyard. I wished to decline, but this he would not allow, and urged me to enter his chariot with him. We drove 100 miles and met a train of 300 armored horsemen who had ridden out to escort me. They led me to a great city, and before the city a tent had been erected in which played a band of musicians. A high official welcomed me. When I entered the city, the onlookers were crowded together like walls. This is riveting. This is so crazy, dude. This is so sick. Servants ran to and fro bearing orders. We passed through more than a dozen gates before we reached the princess. There I was requested to dismount and change my clothes in order to enter the presence of the princess, for she wished to receive me as her guest. But I thought this too great an honor and greeted her below on the steps. She, however, invited me to seat myself near her in the hall. She sat upright in all her incomparable beauty, surrounded by female attendants, adorned with the richest jewels. These plucked lute strings and played flutes. Oh my God, this is incredible. A throng of servitors stood about in golden girdles with purple tassels, ready to carry out her commands. Oh, the use of purple and gold, so beautiful. Also, I love the image earlier of the man in a purple robe on a black horse. This is stunning. We love the color scheme. A throng, okay, yes. The golden girdles, purple tassels, yes. Countless crowds were assembled before the palace. 5 or 6 visitors sat in a circle about the princess, and a general led me to my place. The princess said to me, "I have begged you to come here in order to entrust the command of my army to you. If you will break the power of my foe, I will reward you richly." I promised to obey her. Then wine was brought in, and the banquet was served to the sound of music. While we were at the table, a messenger entered. "The robber Chwalna has invaded our land with 10,000 footmen and horsemen, and is approaching our city by various roads. His way is marked by columns of fire and smoke." The guests all grew pale with terror when they heard the news, and the princess said, "This is the foe because of whom I have sought your aid. Save me in my hour of need." Then she gave me 2 chargers, a suit of golden armor, and the insignia of a commander-in-chief, and bowed to me. I thanked her and went, called together 3 captains, had the army mustered, and rode out before the city. At several decisive points, I placed troops in ambush. The enemy was already approaching in great force. Careless and unconcerned, intoxicated by its former victories, I sent out my most untrustworthy soldiers in advance, who allowed themselves to be beaten in order to lure him in. Oh, this is brilliant. Light-armed men then went out against him and retreated in skirmish order, and thus he fell into my ambush. Drums and kettle drums sounded together. The ring closed around them on all sides, and the robber army suffered a grievous defeat. The dead lay about like hemp stalks, but little Chwalna succeeded in breaking through the circle. I sent out the light horsemen after him, and they seized him before the tent of the enemy's commanding general. Hastily, I sent word to the princess. She reviewed the prisoners before the palace. All the people, high and low, streamed together to acclaim her. Little Chwauna, I know I'm saying that so wrong. It's driving me crazy. He was about to be executed in the marketplace when a messenger came spurring up with a command from the princess's father to pardon him. The princess did not dare to disobey. So he was dismissed to his home after he had sworn to give up all the thought of realizing his traitorous plans. I was loaded with benefits as a reward for my victory. I was invested with an estate with 3,000 peasants. Oh, great, slaves. And was given a palace, horse and wagons, all sorts of jewels, men servants and women servants, gardens and forests, banners and suits of mail. And my subordinate officers, too, were duly rewarded. On the following day, a banquet was held, and the princess herself filled the goblet, sent it to me by one of her attendants, and said, "Widowed early in life, I opposed the wishes of my stern father and fled to this spot. Here the infamous Chwauna harassed me and well nigh put me to shame. Had not your master's great kindness and your own courage come to my assistance, hard would have been my lot." Then she began to thank me, and her tears of emotions flowed like a stream. I bowed and begged her to grant me leave of absence so that I might look after my family. I was given a month's leave, and the following day she dismissed me with a splendid retinue. Before the city, a pavilion had been erected in which I drank the stirrup cup. Then I rode away, and when I arrived before our gate, a thunder peal crashed, and I awoke. Thereupon the general wrote an account of what happened to Xiao Bao, in which he conveyed the princess's thanks. Then he paid no further heed to worldly matters, but set his house in order and turned it over to his wife and son. When a month had passed, he died without any sign of illness. That same day, one of his officers was out walking. Suddenly he saw a heavy cloud of dust rising along the highway, while flags and banners darkened the sun. 1,000 knights were escorting a man who sat his horse proudly, like a hero. And when the officer looked at his face, it was the general Chong Song Fu. Hastily, he stepped to the edge of the road in order to allow the cavalcade to pass, and watched it ride by. The horsemen took the way to the Lake of Maidens, where they disappeared. Wow. That was such a pretty story. Wow, that was so cool. I loved this like ghost army situation. That was so spooky and esoteric. Like I want to know more about the dragon lore, because like Pylo's family were dragon fighters, right? And they had like dragon beef for centuries. Then there's the dragon tamer. Then there's the dragon lineages, who have like, some of them have alliances with humans in the dragon kingdoms. Like, this is sick, dude. I always feel like every time I read some of these stories, I feel so like I want to know more details. I want to know about the dragon tamer. I want to know about Pylo's family beef. I want to know more about the dragon princess. I want to know more about like ghost soldiers. Can ghost soldiers be killed? Like, I want to know the physics behind this. Oh, that was so fun. But thank you so much for listening. That was so super sweet. Please take good care of yourself. We need more kind human beings on planet Earth. We need to look after ourselves. Community is the only way we're going to make it through this without ruining the world and each other. We need community. So take good care of yourself. I have so much love and appreciation for you. Have the most beautiful day. Over and out, baby.